at the Serena.
That's why we can rent for 10 days in 5 years than wasting over 300 billion to build a chamber which will never
be used effectively.
Even in the issue of building a car park, I don't know the former speaker what he was reasoning, because how do you start with a car park? To do what? It's so complicated. But
the first item on the agenda of Parliament, traditional, has been to negotiate for those free vehicles from taxpayers' money.
So that they need a car park.
You need a car park too, because everybody dumps the border, dumps the small vehicle they were driving, and picks 4x4. But Mr. Mafabi, the country is asking. There is a crisis. Government doesn't agree that there is a crisis. They say there are challenges. We had Keith McKenzie yesterday here, and he was saying there are challenges. Not yet crisis level. What is your own description, you and your team, of the current economic situation in the country? What do you think it is? It's as bad as we...
I want you to... I don't know how you define a crisis and the challenges. Challenges, it is a challenge you have failed to get a solution. Isn't it? The moment you have a solution, it ceases to be... I think that's how I would say it. A crisis is that you have also failed to get a solution. So all of them, whichever English my brother Keith McKenzie wants to use, is that truly Uganda is at crossroad. This economic crisis, that one everybody sees for it. Sure.
There is a grading system. You hit crisis levels at some stage. You don't start at crisis level.
I want to start like this. I want to give an example of sugar. If you are saying sugar, it's now that sugar is not there, you need to cut Mavina. Are you telling me in just a few months we have produced more Ugandans just a few months, about say 3, more Ugandans who are taking more sugar that immediately it needed to plant more.
But this is a discussion that started in 2007.
Yeah, no, I'm coming. But after that discussion, sugar has been there. It has been at 2,400, 2,300. But sometimes in Uganda, people in the authority cause a crisis. Now, how do you go to a central bank under $40 million to put a non-productive sector, and that one you believe to want to create a crisis? Because you have invested in a non-productive sector. How do you, for example, now, they call people, now the president is calling people to take them to his home, to show them farms. I don't know why he's always taking them to his place. Did he develop on his area? Why, when will he carry them to take them to Tororo, to take them to Arua, to take them to Bugis, to show examples? But whenever he takes them, like the MPs, he pays them for accommodation, he feeds them, and even gives them money. I'll give you a recent example. They are taking our MPs, they are saying they give them 1 million and tell them that you go and study and start to popularize the NRM ideology. You understand? You stay with 2 days with the president, saying they accommodate you, feeds you, then he says, here I'm giving you some money to go and pass over the ideology of NRM.
Not the ideology of what you have studied in how peasant farmers can transform themselves.
So now, such expenditures are the expenditures which are non-productive. The moment you invest in a non-productive sector, time will come, you'll be held responsible.
What's your assessment of the health of the economy?
It's very bad.
Why?
Why? I've told you the investment. If you have invested in the consumption.
No, I mean the current status. I know yesterday we discussed a high rate of inflation, the depreciation of the currency, and Keith had came back. In fact, he's published a paper that looks at Uganda's debt situation, the export situation, government incomes, and he concludes that even if there are shocks, this is not a situation that the economy cannot weather.
So I'll give an example. Exports. First of all, our exports are far less than the imports. That means this country is an import country. That means you demand more forex to be able to meet your demands. Now, if you are demanding the forex to meet your demands, and the dollar has gone high, you, for example, you have moved from 2,000 to 2,800. That addition alone means the life already is going to be hard because we are an import country. That's number one, point number one. Point number two, you see somebody will come with figures. You're talking of inflation. If inflation is increasing, it means your purchasing power is going down. Now, my brother Mwakanis should have addressed why is the inflation going. In fact, the 21.4, 21.8 they're talking about is not the right inflation rate.
What is the right inflation rate according to you?
I'll give you an example. You go to your home, go and find out what was costing you last month. Last month, just maybe let us give an example. At the beginning of the year, you used to go with 100,000. How much were you buying of that commodity? Go with the same 100,000 and see how much you buy, and compare with how much you would need to buy the same goods.
The same quantity of goods.
The same quantity of goods. That will be your computation of inflation, because that is your income against your consumption.
What is the shadow cabinet's computation of the current inflation
For
rate?
us, we believe currently the inflation is about 50%, because we're saying 100,000 is now buying goods worth not 100,000. You need 150,000 to buy the goods you were buying a few months ago of 100,000.
Honorable Nandala, the central bank increased the interest rate last week. And the logic here appears to be that inflation is so bad that if you increase the interest rate, make lending across the counter, even rather borrowing from the banks, even much more difficult, that you can hold down inflation. But the consequence of that is that you also depress demand, because we don't have money to invest in production. And yesterday, Keith basically gave his attitude is that, well, this is something that has to be done. If you have to depress the economy in order to control inflation, that is okay. What do you say to this sort of approach?
You have answered it yourself, my brother Angel. You are saying borrowing is now too expensive. I wanted to go and in a maze. I have to borrow from the bank. I will not borrow. Now, when I don't borrow, it means instead of the 3 people I would have employed in a maize mill, they will not have what? Employment. I'm creating an employment. First of all, the high interest rates are creating an employment. Now, they have also come up and said the reason why they don't want money to come in a saturation is because it is the one bringing inflation, so we must absorb it. So many people need to have it. But you are controlling one side, but you are not controlling State House, which is putting the money in the system. Are you aware we have 2 currencies? We have old notes and the new notes. And they told us, we're going to phase out the new old notes because they are easy to forgery. But you go to this bank, now you get both the old and the new. I think you know the Chiganda word, which I can say that a rich person has both the old and the new notes, new currency. I think that's what they are trying to do. Now, in Uganda, we have got the money supply is more than twice. In fact, the new one, we don't know how much it is. It must be either equal to the old one or 2 times.
Mr. Nandala, how much access to information do you have as the opposition, and especially because you the opposition heads the key accountability committees? Do people from the central bank, Minister of Finance, give you all the data that you demand, or that they comply with that data in giving the data they are supposed to give as per the law? Do you have all the information you need?
I think that's a good question. One, if you try to get information, always sometimes you'll get the right one, or you'll get even a doctored one. But I've discovered one thing in Uganda which I must tell you.
And you get it timely if you get it.
Well, I think we can say it timely or whatever. But what I want to tell you, even if they doctor it, we have discovered now a culture in Uganda. Many people are fed up. They will give that one and they will get the other one. I will give an example. Basaja Balaba, who leaked the information of the 142 billion?
Tell us.
It was the inside people who leaked it.
Inside from what? Finance? Bank of Uganda?
Bank of Uganda. No, even the Attorney General's chamber. But you will discover that, when you ask somebody, he gives you some. But somehow, you'll get all the information getting on the floor, getting to you. So people are fed up. In central bank, other people say that these acts are not good.
Do you get the feeling in Parliament that, the opposition, you put up a fight and all of that, do you get a sense that in this Parliament, the 9th Parliament, that given just the example you've given, the Basajawalawa case and these other cases, that there is a sense within the NRM, amongst NRM MPs, that maybe they shouldn't just keep rubber stamping, at least amongst some of them, that they should join in scrutinizing these things much more carefully, and because things are just going out of hand. Do you feel it? Do you feel some movement that maybe this Parliament, the way it has started, might maybe just keep on this path, despite being taken to Chankwanzi and to the President's village and State House in the night to be taught siyasa and things?
I think the President won't talk to them siyasa, but they won't. Now that one answers my brother Mangusha. You see, when Nandala talks something, he said that is the usual talk. But when somebody from the NRM comes up and talks again something, you say now they have got up. And that's where you are getting. Now what is happening is that the things we have been talking about are now also being talked about by some of our colleagues on the other side of the NRM. And that's why you're saying they are more pronounced than us, because for us you have always been listening to the same arguments we have been talking. And that's why you're saying maybe
political agility would require that you change your tactics and remain visible.
No.
And
We're visible.
But my question is really, do you get a feeling that the anti-corruption, the need for accountability message?
And that's why I'm coming, my brother Mangusha. You see, it is time. This country belongs to us. I have got a feeling now that many people are seeing that something is going wrong. You see, yesterday I could give you an example. When we were arguing about the supplementary, you come up with a figure of 190 billion for State House, but you cannot get 340 billion, which is almost half, price of what State House has got as supplementary. Some people say, but surely, why State House alone? Why not this one a deserving case? There are those who are now coming to reason by sense. And the moment sense and reasoning will come in, and of course sense comes in people. Of course, there are those who, even if they see sense, like Professor Kamoto,
they will follow nonsense.
He will always come with opposite. Right? But there are those who see sense and say no. Instead of talking to support this, let me rather
step out and stay in the corridor.
Stay in the corridor. Then there are those who will be courageous, who will get up and talk. I have the feeling that within a short time from now, you will discover that there are many people who discover themselves, and I know Uganda belongs to all of us, and they will come up.
But we need to take a commercial break. Can you pick it up? Question before we go to the break? Let's come back.
It's live. It's hot.